thank you all for coming. I assume that you all care about connectivity in your communities, because this is the Reaching 100% workshop. And we are very lucky that Robbie McGee, who is the head of broadband policy from the Scottish Government, has agreed to come and tell us a bit from his perspective and just gives us an overview of the landscape at the moment. Please be gentle with him. It's very kind of him to come. I've worked with Robbie now for, what, 4 years? So I know that he understands what the issues are and does get it. So Robbie, I'm just going to hand over to you and let you say what you want. We will be filming this first bit, and then so that we can have an open dialogue, we'll stop the cameras, and then we'll all be able to talk freely.
Hang on, this is supposed to be a public policy debate. Why is it all thinking about that?
Well, because I think it might be fine for people who feel very articulate, but there might be some people whose voices won't be heard if we are filming the whole thing because they feel self-conscious or that they can't speak for their community or whatever. So we'll film the first bit, we'll put the cameras off, but we will be writing up the highlights of everything that is said, and then that will go forward into the manifesto and into the action planning tomorrow. So this is only a step along the way. Okay? Robbie.
Good stuff. I'm Robbie McGee, head up the broadband policy team within the Scottish Government. There's a couple of familiar faces in the audience, a couple in particular. Debbie Wilson, who works with me in the Scottish Government, sitting there. And we've got Zoe Laird, who heads up Community Broadband Scotland, who's over there as well. So I guess the kind of key thing that we want to have today is a good dialogue. I thought it would be useful just to set a little bit of policy context from the outset, just to kind of take stock of where we are and where we're going. Obviously the title of this workshop, Reaching 100%, reflects the fact that the Scottish Government have made a commitment that we'll have 100% superfast broadband access by 2021, which is obviously a fairly testing ambition, which has taken up a lot of our time. I guess just to kind of recap a little bit on where we've been, we obviously have kind of 2 large-scale investment projects at the moment that are delivering quite a bit of investment into digital infrastructure across Scotland. Not perfect by any means, and we can maybe talk a little bit about some of those imperfections, but they are actually having a really positive impact in parts of the country. So they've kind of driven coverage of fibre broadband, and again that's something we'll come back to that doesn't apply to sort of speed, to about 95% by the end of next year. And again, it's thinking about some of those impacts that, again, I think it's quite easy to knock some of those projects, but it's thinking about in the Highlands and Islands, commercial coverage would only be 21%, it's going to be 86% after the rollout's finished. In the Highlands there was no commercial coverage whatsoever planned, and all of the island local authorities will be over 70%, so there's a hell of a lot still to do, but the impact, those programmes are having an impact. But I guess it's lots of activity planned, and I think that's probably what we'll spend quite a bit of time talking about at the moment. So obviously thinking through what comes next, there's obviously likely to be new large-scale public investment that will be delivered through new procurements, not one procurement. We're not thinking that there'll be one solution, one supplier that will solve this. I think it'll be a rich tapestry of solutions, but we're kind of planning for that just now. And some of the kind of key things that we've got to do over the next few months to pave the way for that, we've got to finalise the coverage footprint that will be delivered by the 2 Digital Scotland projects. BT have kind of been modelling residual funds within those contracts over the last few months, so that will give us that final coverage picture which we'll have within the next couple of months. And at that point what we'll do is we'll go out, and the Minister mentioned it earlier on, we'll undertake an open market review, which is a kind of formal consultation that we have to do with commercial suppliers. First of all, to understand what it is that they're going to deliver commercially, what they have to deliver commercially, and what they will do over the next 3 years. And the really interesting thing about this open market review is, unlike last ones which have been done at kind of postcode level, so kind of tend to mask some of the kind of nuances, this one will be at premise level, and obviously that will kind of give us speed information at that premise level as well. So it'll allow us, in state aid terms, to construct a new intervention area for new public investment, but it'll also allow us to take some decisions on how potentially we lock that up, what our procurement strategy is, what the different solutions might be for different areas. So we expect that to kick off in about November. Obviously it's quite a big exercise for BT, for Virgin, and for some of the smaller players as well who are delivering commercial services. But by the turn of the year we expect that we'll have that kind of clarity.
Sorry, excuse me,
yeah.
That's November as in next month? Not
yes.
Next November?
No, that's November 2016. So essentially what we are kind of thinking is that we should be in a position from the start of 2017 to launch new procurement activity. I guess just the other thing, I mean, I sort of touched on the kind of the Digital Scotland projects, and as I say, we can discuss them in far more detail. I think what the Digital Scotland projects have been good at doing is they've passed a hell of a lot of premises, but I guess for a lot of the people sitting in this room, the frustration will be that they've maybe not passed your premise, because what the project didn't do was specifically target those with the lowest speeds. And I think that clearly has caused a lot of frustration, and we recognise that, and I think the important thing is that we recognise that the approach next time will need to be different. So,
yes, this is what's slightly confusing me. You're talking policy, but what's the strategy, what's the strategic framing for the problem that the policy is being used to enact? That has not, I've looked at the R100, the pin that came out, the RFI that came out, I've responded to it, but I don't have a clue what the strategic frame for R100 is.
what do you mean by strategic framework? I mean, I guess, so that a high-level policy ambition is clearly every premise will have supervised
No,
broadband.
that's the wrong question. You're starting from the wrong place there. That's the wrong question to be asking. It's not super fast broadband, because that implies an arbitrary definition at a given point in time. What it doesn't do is give any sort of framework for putting in an infrastructure that is scalable in the future, which is a far more important question than the bandwidth at any given point in time. So that's the strategy. What are you trying to achieve with this, rather than what are you setting out to deliver? Because that's one of the things that's crippled DSSB, which is basically you're putting in a generational technology that cannot scale, which is going to cripple the country for the foreseeable future.
Yes. Yeah, so there's, in terms of the work...
So my question is, I'm not understanding where you're coming from, because we don't have a strategic frame for the goals that you're trying to deliver.
So in terms of
superfast is the wrong question.
Okay. I mean, in terms of the work that we're doing, there's two things. So the short-term stuff is around the superfast coverage and is about the kind of target. But if you let me answer,
long-term decline.
Okay, if you let me answer. That's kind of what we've done in parallel. We've developed a kind of, there's a longer-term perspective as well. So we've been working with Scottish Futures Trust on, in effect, one of our overarching aspirations is in Scotland that we are a kind of world-class digital nation, world-class infrastructure will support that kind of...
You can't get there from here.
Well, we can have a conversation. I mean, if you let me answer, you can come back on it, but I don't think I'm going to get very far if you keep interrupting. So it's that kind of, the transition from 4G to 5G, for example, from superfast to ultrafast, that's absolutely what we are focused on as well, is to make sure that parts of Scotland are not left behind when those transitions happen. So what we're looking at that's kind of separate from the superfast broadband piece is, well, what are the different elements of kind of world-class infrastructure? So we've identified 6 of those. And again, this is, I mean, it's work that we're doing in Scottish Futures Trust, and there's stuff online that we can circulate on this. But it's looking at kind of things like fibre, spectrum, internet exchanges, things that's not just about the kind of premises past focus. So there's a lot of work that's underway around that as well, but I guess this session is about reaching 100% target, so then inevitably has a kind of focus around premises past.
But that's actually very useful, because I had a really good look at your website, and I went through the RFI in great detail, and there's none of that you hit the right buttons with that last statement there, but there's nothing, I see nothing online about that. If you can point us to
well,
something,
we will direct you to it. I mean, we'll take that as an action. I mean, I think the RFI is a very specific procurement-led supplier engagement document, so it's not necessarily going to tell the full policy story.
That's exactly the problem, is trying to find out, well, what's the strategy and then what's the policy, and you're trying to work backwards for an RFI at the moment without much knowledge of public information.
I think it's a good point in terms of, so it's been a while since our digital strategy was published, I think it's 2011, 2012. So we're currently looking at refreshing that, so early next year we'll have a refreshed digital strategy, which connectivity will be a part, and it will tell that more rounded story. So I think it's easy to think that we are sitting there just thinking about, in splendid isolation, this premises past policy target, which is not the case. There are kind of far more, there's lots of different aspects to what it is that we're doing as well.
I wonder if I could ask,
sure.
Somebody who's involved in the current CBS project, and we're just, Sir Thomas haven't led the development as part of the Campbell's advocated project. We're at the stage of going to state aid consultation, but there seems to be some concern from Community Broadband Scotland that the OMR will actually invalidate all the efforts that we've made so far. Could you clarify on that?
Can I just suggest that, I think, Robert, do you have anything else to say in sort of the overview?
Well, we've kind of got,
Again,
to be honest, yeah.
I'd suggest that we sort of pull our chairs around and have more of an open discussion about individual projects and stuff.
Yeah, that seems fine. I mean, to be honest, we've already started getting into the conversation, so let's do that.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
So just to make it a bit easier, I don't really like this